Hello, SGDA. My name is Juliana Rivera, and I am the character artist for our game Prize Fighter. This is a game that me and a team of students from our game design class at UCF worked on together for 2 months. We are very proud of it. I love everyone that I worked on this with, and of course, I love the game itself, and I hope you do too. We're based in Orlando, Florida, of course. And I want to run through the credits before I go ahead and show you guys what's going on in this game. So, our wonderful producer, Jess Harrison, made this entire thing possible. Uh, Matthew Cabrera and Chelle Radcliffe were on level design and were responsible for coming up with most of the idea, which I'll get into. We had Dylan Torres and Carlos Pinto Jimenez on programming, who made the game work and made the movement very good. I love the movement in this game, and I'll show you why. And then on art, there's Kiana Cuevas, who is our wonderful environment artist, Caio Simonetta, who did most of the 2D art, such as the cutscene we just watched, and then me, Juliana, who worked on the characters. So let me just go ahead and jump right in and show you how this game works. So I'm currently playing on controller because that is the preferred way to play this game. That being said, it doesn't seem like my GameCube controller is working at the moment, so I'm just going to switch to mouse and keyboard instead. So as you can see, you're playing as this guy inside of an arcade machine. And there's 3 different machines that you can go to, but they're all locked, so we have to talk to this iDog toy in the corner in order to go to the tutorial, and then we can start going to the machines. So the plot of the game, as you saw at the beginning, was we need to get Minako, that little plush that is in the box all the way at the end there, free from the evil claw. It's worth mentioning that this dialogue was added in at like literally the very last moment, probably like the day before we presented this to the class and to our professor. I don't know how they managed to pull it off. We did have it like written, we just didn't have, and all the assets, we just didn't have it like implemented. But anyway, I'm playing through the tutorial where you can see most of the mechanics on display. So there's some pretty standard platforming stuff. You have a double jump. There is no running or movement speed. You like travel at 1 speed if you're playing on desktop. If you're on controller, then it's a different story, but there's no sprint key, of course. If you right click, there's a grapple, which pretty much just latches onto the nearest surface in front of you and then pulls you forward. It's not a constant thing, so it's really more of a boost than like an actual hook that like pulls you in. But yeah, there's also a wall jump, which you saw at the beginning, but it's less how a wall jump works in most games and more like a wall climb, which actually works out pretty well in this game's favor. Of course, since this is most of our like first project, most of us, this is like our first major like game dev project, so the movement isn't super perfect, but for what it is, I think we did a pretty good job, especially considering that like 3D platformers aren't easy. But anyway, the projection of iDog here, he's almost like a Dark Souls phantom, I guess, tells us what to do in case you don't figure out the controls. If you double jump and then punch, you'll do like a bit of a dive. This can be used to hit buttons, but there's also some bad guys in this game that we can beat up, so it's very useful. And of course, if you're standing still, it's just a regular punch. And this will do things like make platforms appear, make hook points appear. It's very useful. Once we do that, we can unlock the first level, which we go ahead and go into that. So Coin Pusher was the first level we ever worked on for this game. And it's most people's favorite levels. It's my favorite level, just because of how detailed it is. I know I said I worked on like the characters for this, but I also helped with like the lighting a lot on this level, and we spent a lot of times tweaking it in order to get it just right, and I'm glad that we finally did. This little frog was actually one of the characters that wasn't made by me. This was made by our environment artist, Kiana, But I did make the protagonist, this guy. I decided to call him Hexdog because he's like kind of like iDog if iDog was super popular and they made like just an iDog themed Gundam or action figure. But yeah, I also worked on the claw. The environment art, all of this was Kiana and Caio. Mostly Kiana. Caio did things like the billboards, but like everything else that you see, such as the frogs and this like entire like token thing, like all the coins on the floor, was all Kiana. As well as the actual machine itself and the giant "Welcome to Last iDog Jackpots" logo, which I think is very cute. But anyway, as you can see, this is what it's like actually moving through the level. And if you go over here, you can actually get a sticker. There are secrets to be found in these levels, and these stickers actually unlock items in the shop, which I will show you in a bit. But yeah, navigating the world is pretty easy. There are these bouncing frogs, which we struggled a lot with getting the colliders right, and when we ended up turning them into like, we ended up turning them into like booster platforms rather than things you actually sit on. So once you're on top of them, they'll propel you in the air. We also put some green frogs throughout the level in order to like force people to use the combat, because if you don't get rid of them, they will punch you off, as you just saw. And there's the wall jump / climb, which is very useful in case you miss your jump. You can also dive in order to make certain actions faster, such as dropping onto this red frog, which is very nice. That's actually, I think, my favorite use of the dive over, say, like combat purposes or punching buttons, just getting shit done faster. Anyway, I need to get up here. It's a little bit hard. Let me get on top of this frog. We, and specifically our programmer is fucking wonderful. Dylan spent a long time working on getting the colliders for these right. He personally thinks that they couldn't be improved. I don't really know what's going on in the programming end. As a player, I can say that for like my first project, with all the expectations that comes from this being like a student project, it feels pretty good. I think he did a good job. So anyway, before I go into the pachinko machine, I'm actually going to go ahead and hit this button. So you can see all the skins here. I made these color variants. My personal favorite one is the volcano themed skin, just because I think it looks really cool. I'm going to go back to the default, however. So in the pachinko machine, and while I'm here, I might as well talk about how the idea for this game came to be, because it's pretty interesting. So it was our level designer, Matthew, that came up with the concept that we all voted on. And it initially started out very differently, where it was basically going to be like a lot more boxing and combat themed. And our professor was like, basically heard the idea of like basically an arcade toy boxing and was like, that doesn't sound cute. So we ended up changing it to they're going to be platforming and they're going to like save this plushie, this like princess plushie. And I think that came from me talking about how cool it would be to have like a boss fight. I don't remember who exactly it was. What I do remember is that our other level designer, Chelle, put in iDog as a sort of Easter egg, and I really liked that a lot actually. So I was like, hey, what if we just made like the cafe like Fruitiger Arrow theme set in the arcade Fruitiger Arrow theme, and set it in an alternate universe where iDog was really popular, and they made just a lot of iDog themed toys. And even though you can't see it right now, the claw is also actually iDog themed. Now this is the exit. Sorry to cut myself off, but if you actually jump over the exit and go down here, you can get to the second sticker. All you have to do is not beat the level right away, which I think is very, very, very cool. Props to the designers for that one. But yeah, after that happened, I mean, the rest was pretty much history, right? We immediately got to work to like building this entire place. So the idea for pachinko is actually Chelle's idea because she really likes Japanese pachinko machines, and I get it. I think they're cute. The idea of making it kind of themed after like cars was also my idea, and then Chelle was like, "What if we put one of those like rugs that you see in like when you're like a kid that just has like the road on it?" Which we thought was adorable, and it is. I think it really fits this level. I'm like so bad at this game, but it's also because I'm trying to talk at the same time. But yeah, this level is also very pretty, of course. Kiana really cooked with the environment assets here, especially these platforms, which I think fit the theme so nicely. And then we are going to go ahead to the claw. So implementing a boss fight in this was a very interesting experience. I think boss fights in like any platformer are always tricky to like pull off because if your platformer doesn't have like a strong like combat or like character action element, there he is, and you can see like I tried to go to like extend that like eye dog theme with the little eyes that he has. A lot of people liked it. Which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I personally feel like platforming bosses are hard to pull off and are pretty much just like, do you know the game's mechanics? I think we did a fine job, especially considering that you can just die like that if you're not fast enough. I think this is very fun, and I'm glad we managed to pull this off because, like, considering the fact that this was a part of the class, so we didn't even know if we would be able to finish it on time, but I'm glad that we did. And like, I think the level of polish we ended up reaching, especially with like the like dialogue and everything, tying the narrative together, just ends up feeling really nice. But yeah, so what happens is you pretty much parkour up these ledges, press a button, and then iDog from the beginning can use their projections to make a clone of you, which pisses off the claw, and then the actual you can come in and just hit him, which is very cool. So that button is being trapped, and then we have to press this one in order to get it open. There's another cone on this platform. He isn't as fast, he couldn't actually knock us off. I'm gonna do it anyway, which might have been really bad. Oh, he's over there. I thought he was gonna descend there again. Yeah. So we're gonna jump up and we're gonna do this one last time. Oh no. So even though controller is preferred for this game, it actually does still feel pretty nice to play on keyboard. Oh god, this part. I'm not even actually... This is gonna work out. It's so gonna work out. And there we go. So that is the entire game. And I'm really proud of what we all worked on. I really enjoy what everyone else did. And I'm like so grateful that I got to work with everyone on this game because it's probably the most fun I've ever had making something in college, even considering my own personal projects or like other team stuff I've worked on. And I hope to do more stuff with them in the future, even though there isn't any current plans to expand Prize Fighter at the moment. Anyway, now that I've showed you the game, I'm going to go ahead and get into a couple of questions, but first I have some very important words from our environment artist Kiana, who wanted to give her input. So let me go ahead and play that for you now.
Hello, I'm Kiana Cuevas, and I was the environmental artist and one of the UI artists on Prize Fighter. Regarding the artistic aspects of the game, we struggled mostly with aesthetic and visual cohesiveness for a good portion of the first half of the project. along with finding ways to optimize the environment while maintaining the quality of the work, given how densely populated each of the levels are. There was a lot of trial and error, but eventually we found a workaround for every problem. And I personally remember the sea of coins on Coin Pusher being a particularly difficult hurdle for me to find a solution to. It's very difficult for me to pick one specific part of the game that I'm proud of. I wouldn't say that there's any one specific part of the game I'm proud of over any other part. Rather, I am extremely proud of the overall project and the end product we were able to come up with, especially what we were able to accomplish given such a limited time frame to complete our work. I would like to shout out everyone on our incredible team for their hard work and dedication, as well as for being all around amazing people to spend time with and work alongside. I most definitely would not have wanted to develop this game with any other team. And I also want to shout out our professor, Kristen, for giving us the opportunity to create such an amazing game that taught us so much about game design, as well as being there for us throughout every step of the process. And last but not least, it would mean the world to us if you could check out Prize Fighter, available now for Windows on itch.io. Thank you.
So that was Kiana, who worked on environment art. And I think she had some very lovely words. I especially agree with the last part. I loved working with her and everyone else. As I already said, and I love this game and hope you enjoy it too. As for some questions that I would like to answer, um, aside from like a lot of them that like I already just answered, the idea behind the game and how it changed, how long we took in development. Um, I think the most difficult part for me was definitely learning how to work with a team because up until this point I had been making my own characters in Unity for a completely different game, that being VR chat, but that's a very different thing compared to making characters from scratch um, for your own project. And I ended up having to like learn how to like work with everyone else and how to upgrade my own workflow. And I ended up doing a lot of things, such as at some point just straight up abandoning using like the default humanoid rig because I was like, we're not making a lot of human characters or things that would need human rigs, and this is taking too long. So I started making unique animations for everyone. Yeah, it was really just making the characters, which I know is my whole job, but like still, especially the main character, Hexdog, the player, I spent a lot of time making sure was looking right because you're gonna be looking at him for most of the game. I wish I spent more time thinking about his back would be designed because I didn't really think about the fact that most of the time you're gonna be looking at his back, but I think I did a decent enough job by making his overall silhouette and textures cool to look at. Um, and I'd say that's also definitely, for me personally, the stuff that I'm most proud of. Um, I think I'm most proud of the overall polish of the game. However, if I had to pick like what our team did, because even though like I don't know, it might just be me personally, but I think everyone else put like a lot more into the game, and I love them for that. Especially the polish near the end with the dialogue. I don't know how Dylan, Carlos, and Shell and Matthew pull that off like last minute, but they did. I think all the stuff that Caio and Kiana did, like Caio's 2D art and the billboards, the stickers, the cutscenes, and Kiana's everything is just incredible. Especially the way that Coin Pusher ended up coming out, and especially the way that the Claw ended up coming out. The Claw was actually the level that I had the least amount of hand involved in. I didn't have the time to do like the lighting or anything, and ended up doing just light polishes instead, and adding the like audience of plushies, including the Minako plush at the top at the very end. Uh, but yeah, we all love platformers. Oh, one more thing. Our producer, Jess, we would not have been able to make this game without her. Like, she made sure everyone is doing okay, that everyone is able to get their stuff in. Jess is amazing to work with. Please, if you ever get the chance to, like, work on a game with her, please do it. Um, but other than that, hitting the 20-minute mark, so I'm going to wrap this up quickly. Uh, I think we all like platformers. That's why we decided to work on this. I personally find the actual act of moving in platformers very interesting, and I wanted the game to go more of an into like an environment hazard scenario rather than a direct combat scenario. Because I think the most interesting part about platformers is how to navigate against a treacherous level with the kit that your character has. But we ended up not doing that because that ended up would have been way too much work. And then as for the specific question, which was not something I get to answer, but what I want to hear back from you guys, please contact us, leave comments on our itch.io. Do you think we succeeded in making a campy, like, cult classic platformer? Do you think you would love this if you picked this up as a kid in the same way that I love Battle for Bikini Bottom or Epic Mickey? Please let us know on our itch.io page. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to SGDA for letting us present at their event. We are very grateful and glad to be a part of the community, and I hope you check out our game and play it for yourself because it is very, very good. Anyway, that was Juliana. I hope you have a wonderful morning.